Hello, I'm Dango Rose. Welcome to the Mountaineer Podcast, where everybody's listening. The Mountaineer brings you the latest news of the Peak to Peak region, in print, online, through our podcast, social media, and special publications. Now, listen in to the latest news of the area with our local journalists.
Mountaineer Podcast, where everybody's listening. I'm Barbara Hardt.
And I'm Doug Armitage. Thanks for joining us. The intro music is provided by Sean Kinane. He describes his style as a mix between Paul Metheny and Paul Simon, with the Temptations sprinkled in.
This episode is brought to you by the Backdoor Theater, the Gold Dirt Distillery, Brightwood Music, Hardt's Backhoe, and of course, the Mountaineer newspaper. And now to the news desk.
Hey, this week's movie at the Backdoor Theater is Jurassic World Dominion, rated PG-13. The movie shows Friday and Saturday at 7 p.m. with a Saturday matinee at 2 p.m.
Some of the current highlights in the Mountaineer include our weekly music column, the only weekly music print listing in the entire Peak to Peak region. The June 30th edition will also include our quarterly It's Your Turn stories, photos, artwork, and more, as well as several stories that happened after our deadline for June 23rd but need to be shared now to be timely. This edition is an opportunity for many on staff to have a few days or a whole week off. The office is closed, but we're still here making sure your news is reported to you in a timely manner. Pick it up on stands this Thursday.
Our first story of the week is Jamie Lammers interviewing local musician Adam Perry of the tribute band Rolling Harvest. Off you go, Jamie.
Hello, my name is Jamie Lammers, and this is my interview with Adam Perry of the local tribute band Rolling Harvest.
Hey, my name is Adam Perry, and I am the drummer and de facto band leader of the new Boulder-based band Rolling Harvest.
And Rolling Harvest is having their first show coming up soon, am I right?
Yeah, the first show is actually going to be at Under the Sun, which is a basement, a restaurant and venue in Boulder, Saturday, July 2nd. And then we're going to play at the probably 130th annual Jamestown Festival on the 4th of July, and then we're playing at the new Boulder Roots Music Project on Friday, July 15th. If you look online at our Facebook, which is just facebook.com/Rolling Harvest, we have a lot of gigs in August and September in the mountains in Jamestown and Rawlinsville, and then also a bunch in Denver and Boulder.
How did the band start? How did you guys meet? How did the band form? All that sort of stuff.
Yeah, well, me and Alexander Schwann and Scott Coulter are all veterans of Gasoline Lollipop, and we've known each other for a long time. And then Jason Bertone is from Banshee Tree, Madeline McCoy is from the Velveteers, and then Hunter Stone is well known in the area for his solo stuff. So we've all known each other from the thriving music scenes in Colorado. And, you know, I'm not the full-time drummer in Gas Pop anymore. I was really burned out from being a parent and working in law, which I do for a day job, and then I'm also a music writer for various newspapers and magazines. So I was really burned out psychologically and probably physically too. And so I'm not living the life of a touring drummer anymore. But I really wanted to play music more. Clay Rose of Gasoline Lollipop and I do these White Stripes style duo shows a few times a month all over the place. And that's fun. But I also really wanted to have a band again and do something fun and exciting and rewarding, but also not the kind of thing that would get carried away and kind of go on the road a lot and make albums and things like that. And this seemed like the perfect thing to do, just to choose from these few incredible songbooks of, Neil Young and Bob Dylan and just assemble this kind of Avengers-type superhero group with all these musicians who are way better than me and have fun. And Alexandra is such a great singer and such a front woman and never has really had the chance to be so much in the spotlight. And when we were in Gasoline Lollipops, I always wondered what it would be like to have Alexandra as a true front woman. And it's so exciting to see her step into the spotlight like that because she really deserves it.
And what would you say are some of the musical influences that you think have kind of helped your band along over the past few years? Are there any inspirations that you take now or that have been a part of any of the band members' lives for a long time? Just musical influences like that.
Yeah, well, it's really interesting. We started playing together and have just been workshopping, essentially, and learning dozens and dozens of these songs. And we are a tribute band in that we only play Neil Young and Bob Dylan, but we're not Dark Star Orchestra or one of these groups that really wants to sound exactly like the originals and be like a Ripley's Believe It or Not version of the artists that we're paying tribute to. So I would say it's a very Colorado sound type of tribute to Neil Young and Bob Dylan. So it's not a jam band, but it's loose and it's fun, and the people involved can really solo and jam out when we want to, and it's gritty. Bob Dylan hasn't been gritty for a long time, and the Rolling Thunder Review, which happened in the 70s, was like the most dirty rock and roll that Dylan ever did. And the album Hard Rain, taken from that tour, is a really big influence on us. And in general, it's just great to have all these people come from different backgrounds, because Jason is in Banshee Tree, which is kind of like a gypsy jazz jam band. And then Hunter Stone is kind of the co-front person along with Alexandra, and he does rock and roll with this really Western, almost cinematic feel. And then my background is very much in punk rock, and then also playing with Gasoline Lollipops for so long, a little bit of the alt country thing as well. So we have influences from all over the place, and we also have such different backgrounds, and that's really fun because my background is really in just playing live, and that started with playing in punk bands in high school and basements and dive bars and things. And then a couple of the new guys in the band, Cole Sexton and Gabriel Twern, they have the complete opposite musical education from me, where they actually went to music school and know how to talk about music in an astute way, and I'm learning a lot from them, and I think they're probably learning from me. I might not know how to describe a chord or a time signature, but I can teach them how to be in a band and have the right kind of energy and work ethic, stuff like that, which they don't teach you in music school.
Is there anything in particular that you guys love about being able to perform live and perform in front of an audience, perform music as a career?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't feel like you're making music unless there are people there. I mean, I've made a lot of albums, and it's a hard process because you don't have that same energy in the room, that instant feedback and reaction. And one of the fun things about playing these songbooks, the Neil Young and Bob Dylan songbooks, is that when Rolling Harvest plays, there are going to be a lot of people singing along and bringing whatever interpretation they have of these songs to the moment. One of my favorite things in the world is the 4th of July in Jamestown and the view from the stage. I mean, there are a lot of people there to see the music, but the musicians actually have the beautiful view of the mountain from the stage. And workshopping with Rolling Harvest in the warehouse that we have in Boulder is fun. We're getting ready for this incredible summer with so many shows, but the whole reason that we're rehearsing is to be out there at these amazing venues for Colorado music lovers who are, I think they expect a lot. I think people in Colorado expect not only good musicianship, but high energy. So I'm excited about that.
Is there anything that you hope that audiences will be able to take away from your shows when they come and see you?
Fun. I think that's the number one thing, is a bunch of musicians who are good friends and inspiring each other on stage, and even making fun of each other when we make a mistake or something. But fun is the most important thing. And it's funny, it takes a lot of work to have fun, because if you don't put the right amount of work in and you're lost on stage, it's not so fun, and the audience can see that. And so, yeah, more than anything else, I'm excited to have a lot of smiles on stage and good energy and see the audience cheat off of that. That's number one for sure.
Is there anything else just in general that you want to add or promote or talk about in regards to the band, or just anything along those lines?
I'm excited about these new venues too. I mean, we're a new band, and it lines up really well because we get to kind of open these new venues. You know, the Boulder Roots Music Project, we're going to play Friday, July 15th, and then the brand new Macy's the first weekend of September. And then a little later on, October 22nd, we're going to play this new place in Boulder called the Velvet Elk Lounge. Boulder has really needed a small venue for a long time, the same way that Denver has a High Dive and the Skylark, places like that, and Fort Collins has had like Swing Station and Hody's and places like that. So I'm really excited to debut our band at these venues that are also debuting. And as I said, I'm not full-time in Gasoline Lollipops anymore as the drummer because I was getting so burned out. And we played in Europe, we played in Belize, we were recording, and it didn't fit into my life anymore. But Colorado is such an incredible place to see music, to play music, and Rolling Harvest is my opportunity to play around a lot and not leave Colorado. So this summer in this band and these new venues too are really exciting to me.
And yeah, I don't know. I think those are all the big questions that I have on my end.
Thanks so much for doing this, and make sure to come say hi.
Thank you so much to Adam for coming on board and joining us for the podcast. If you want to see Rolling Harvest performing live, be sure to check them out at the annual Jamestown 4th of July Festival in Elysian Park at 5:15 p.m.
Thanks, Jamie. Now to the news desk. The Mountaineer will host a candidate forum on Tuesday, August 9th. The election is Tuesday, August 23rd. Keep an eye on the Mountaineer in print and online for important election information. For Nederland.
Summer is here, and Brightwood Music in Nederland has travel instruments to take with you on your journey. From travel guitars to ukuleles, mandolins to harmonicas, and more, Brightwood has what you need for the aspiring musician in your life or the advanced performer. Brightwood Music is family-owned and operated and has been a Nederland staple for all of your music needs since 2009. They are located at 20 East Lakeview Drive, Unit 109 in Nederland, and can be reached at 303-258-8863. Check them out on Facebook at Brightwood Music.
Peak-to-peak musicians and artists, the Mountaineer is looking for you. We're looking for our August and September featured musicians. Would you like a feature story in the Mountaineer print, online, or podcast edition? Well, these are all completed through email, phone calls, or occasional in-person interviews with our journalists. Interested? Check out our contact information at the end of the podcast.
We are so excited that mail delivery has been getting better every week. But hey, outside Nederland, we know it's still taking a few extra days to get your newspaper in the mail. The Mountaineer has an easy solution to make sure your paper is always on time. Try it online for free. Every print subscriber is able to get free access to our online edition and website. Simply go to the website, click on subscribe, and click on 100-day free subscription. If you love it, we can continue it for the term of your subscription. If you hate it, simply don't log in and it will expire in 100 days.
And now for the next story. Arthur de Vitalis interviews Stephanie Andelman about the upcoming July 3rd Nederland Farmers Market. Take it away, Arthur.
Hi, I'm Art de Vitalis, and this is my interview with Stephanie Andelman about the specially planned farmers market in Nederland for the 4th of July. Take it away, Stephanie.
My name is Stephanie Andelman, and I've been a resident of Nederland since 2006.
All right, awesome. And please kind of give me your background and your history with doing the farmers market.
Sure. About 4 years ago, I got involved on a seasonal basis in helping with marketing, music, organization in the back end, and really brought it up a level during the pandemic to make the entire peak-to-peak community aware of our offerings and getting people to come on a regular basis. So the Nederland Farmers Market became a nonprofit in 2016 and currently has a market every other Sunday, October 2nd, which is our culmination of all events with Harvest Fest. Based on Harvest Fest over the past several years, we decided as a market to have an expanded event on July 3rd as well, since it's a busy weekend in Ned, and especially this year with people staying at home based on gas prices and wanting to support local. We are increasing our market with 65 vendors. Usually we have about 35. We're closing down East 2nd Street, and we have a stage as we do for Harvest Fest to the lookers left of the veterinarian clinic, and it's brought to you by Eldora. So we have a couple of big acts on that stage with 5 local drinkeries from Augustina's Winery to Gold Dirt Distillery to 3 breweries, as we all know, wonderful breweries of Very Nice, Beastie Brews, and Howlin' Wind. So everyone can come into this market, walk around with the beer, hear the live music professionally produced, and have their choices of many more food and craft vendors on July 3rd from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. The July 3rd event, Party in the Peaks, started in the planning phase earlier this year, and we started promoting it about 2 weeks ago. So it's a month of promotion, and we just know that the magic of Beans and Friends will bring the crowd, and we trust the Netherland community to give it that homegrown feeling of fun.
And she's really not joking about the huge amount of vendors that this market offers. The Jolly Radish Farm, My CO Love Farm, Netherland Victory Gardens, Nomnon Greens, Switch Gears Farm, Wonder Mushroom Company, and even more are on for fresh produce. For meat, seafood, and dairy, the Buckner Ranch, Epic Seafoods, 5 Freedoms Dairy, and Magnolia Grass Fed are on the list. Fresh flowers can be found at Artemis Flowers and Nikita Florals. Ready-to-eat food is available from the Dynamite Shack Food Truck, Esmeralda Tamale House, Kaleidoscope Kitchen Food Truck, Ray and Kay's Authentic Puerto Rican and Soul Food, and Susan's Samosas. You can find some staple foods from AA Honey, Adventure Foodworks, Angel's Perfect Pasta, Beyond Microgreens, Boulder Broth, Boulder Juicery, Burning Bridges Hot Sauce, Colorado, Future Fit Food, Healthy Harvest, Jimix Vegan Snacks, Kind Confections, Milk Gourmet Pet Foods, Mountain Girl Pickles, Musa Hamusa, Project Umami, Rainy Day Home Kitchen and Spa, Revolution Artisan Popsicles, Strawberry Moon Pastries and Illustrations, Torchieria Esmeralda, and Water Tiger Enterprises. For the non-alcoholic beverages, Frescos Naturales, Life's a Booch, Kombucha, Peak State Coffee, and Salto Coffee Works will be available. For herbals, oils, and botanicals, Aspen and Sage Botanicals, Hannah's Homestead Apothecary, Hair Hemp CBD, Health Naturally CBD, Honeybee Herbals, Mackay Minerals, Performance Botanicals, and U Wellness will be there. And that's not all. The number of craft vendors is huge for this event, as well as community resources and information that goes along right with them.
We have, like I said, 65-ish food and craft vendors, but what is special about these expanded markets on July 3rd and October 2nd is how many more craft vendors we'll have on site, such as Dusty Rose Mountain Boutique, Green Collar, Guy Art and Farm, which makes succulent plants in these beautiful vases and I'll say contraptions made out of stone and tile. We have stained infused glass vendors. We have apothecary type of items from Honeybee Herbals. We have art by Jessica Kane. We have a Kind Confections food vendor that's coming with sweets that we only have for a couple of markets. We have a new pet vendor, Milk Pet Foods, and Boulder Broth is coming only 3 times this year, and July 3rd is one of the times where they make their broths over 3 days with vegetarian, beef, and chicken. We also have Rustic Rockies Company, and we're bringing on a few more vendors as we speak. So you'll see vendors you don't see at any other market except for the July 3rd and October 2nd expanded markets.
But what about the music planned for the event?
Our music is soon after the market opens at 10 a.m. You get to walk around and shop if you're an early riser without music, but then the professional PA will be playing music starting at 11 by Chuck Sotero of High Lonesome. He's the band leader and main singer and player behind High Lonesome, and he plays from 11 to 12:30. And then at 12:30, we have a much bigger jam band that many people are aware of. They're quite magic. They're going by Beans and Friends. They're coming off of Beanstalk, their big event, and they will have their band plus friends because they love Netherland. It's very close to Hardt. Some of them come from Netherland. So they're bringing their big band on the big stage to get everybody rockin' and rollin' with their jam fusion music. Chuck of High Lonesome plays a Colorado bluegrass, mountain music bluegrass. A little bit speedy, a little bit jam-grassy, but definitely the old school mountain music influence.
Is there anything like 4th of July specific that you have planned for the weekend?
So this expanded market will have activities from Wild Bear Nature Center for the kids with the July 4th theme. And we're planning to have a petting zoo for the first time for kids to come and have little baby goats and other small animals to pet and hear about. We are trying to put some other Independence Day theme activities together, but at the very least, there will be colorful red, white, and blues at many vendors' booths. And the following day, there is our annual 4th of July parade up and down East 2nd and 1st Streets. So if not with us being flag-oriented, it will be the next morning.
Definitely. All right. And that's great. It kind of rounded up the whole family there. Where can anyone find updates or more information? Maybe just follow up online or otherwise if they're interested in being a vendor or just want to kind of watch announcements as they come out.
The best way to find anything out about the Nederland Farmers Market is to plug in at Nederland Farmers Market into your phone or browser. And up will come our website, our Facebook page, and our Instagram accounts, all of which are updated. The best, most timely information is on Facebook. And again, just plug in Nederland Farmers Market, and you'll find out our latest, and you can look under events for what's coming up.
There are a ton of ways to get involved with this, be it becoming an actual vendor, volunteering, or just showing up to enjoy the fare that everybody's offering. The market does accept SNAP and Double Up at all markets, and donations are always appreciated and accepted. You can even order ahead of time online. She told us a little bit more about how the fresh produce selection works and the real mission behind what the Nederland Farmers Market is doing in the community.
And as far as the vendors go at all of our markets, we have several fresh produce vendors. The farmers market has their own booth, and they curate which of the best vegetables and fruits are available, and we go to the local farms to pick them up. Switch Gears Farm also has a booth, and for the expanded markets, it will be a larger booth with more produce available, and we plan to have at least 2 other fresh produce vendors at this market.
All right, very good. Good opportunity for everybody to stock up on everything, especially considering the gas prices there.
Absolutely. This is all about bringing it home, bringing it local, and growing fresh. In expectations that it will maintain, I've taken a big step back, and I am only helping out behind the scenes with July 3rd and October 2nd markets. Those markets have the larger bands, the stage, the alcohol, the closed East 2nd Street, and many more people coming for the support of the vendors as well as a really heartfelt, homegrown community festival atmosphere. Nederland Farmers Market has a total of 12 markets this year, so check on NederlandFarmersMarket.org for your upcoming events. And please come walk around, support the vendors, or see your neighbors.
Thanks, Stephanie. And the only thing really left to say is get on down to the market July 3rd. For the Mountaineer Podcast, I'm Art DeVitalis.
Thanks, Arthur. This weekend is the anniversary celebration at Knotted Root. Stop in Friday through Monday for live music, food trucks, and more.
The Gilpin County Democrats hold monthly meetings in person on the 4th Thursday of each month at the Gilpin County Library from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. Contact gilpindemschair@gmail.com with questions.
The Gilpin County Republican meetings are on the first Thursday of the month at 7 p.m. at the Gilpin County Library. You can contact them at gcrcgilpin@gmail.com.
Are you interested in being a podcast sponsor? We have sponsorships available starting at $30 per week, or sponsor a whole month for just $99. The podcast reaches a different audience than the print or online edition of The Mountaineer. And now for our next story. Jamie Lammers interviews Paul Sink of Fast Floyd. Here's Jamie.
Hello, my name is Jamie Lammers, and this is my interview with Paul Sink of the local band Fast Floyd.
This is Paul Sink, guitarist from Fast Floyd, among other bands. We've got a gig at Howling Wind Brewery on July 9th. Sweet. Yeah, we're excited to play up in Ned. I used to live up there. I live in Niwot now, but I lived up in Ned for many years off Magnolia Road.
How did the band start? How did the band form? What was the background for all of you guys?
My mandolin player, his name is Bill Browning, and he's a longtime veteran of the Front Range playing mandolin. He's played with Dead Fish Orchestra and a lot of other great bands around here. And him and I were in a band together years ago, and we still play occasionally, with a famous banjo player from the area, Kane Holland. The name of that band was Backwoods Galaxy. And Bill and I immediately, as soon as we met many years ago now, became fast friends, just being obsessed with bluegrass and that type of stuff. And, after several years, that Backwoods Galaxy band kind of fizzled out, but Bill and I have always remained friends, and we both have a really serious interest in the early David Grisman recordings, the David Grisman Quintet albums from they're from the late 70s and early 80s, with the now recently deceased famous guitar player Tony Rice was with that band in its early conception. And those tunes are really great. There's no lyrics. They're mostly instrumental tunes, and they're just like a mix of driving bluegrass and jazz. And I've always been fascinated with that music. Consequently, it is very difficult to learn. And Bill and I have always had an interest in that. And the last couple, 3 or 4 years, we've gotten more serious about learning those tunes. And pre-pandemic, we were putting together a little band to try to present these tunes. And, pandemic obviously stifled that. And we didn't really play too much for the last couple years. And then here recently, we ramped it back up again because things are opening up. And we're trying to present those tunes. And right now, we don't know enough of them to fill a whole set, but we're getting closer. So we kind of lean back on our bluegrass roots for about half the set. And then we play the Grisman and more jazz-oriented instrumental music for the other half of the set. It's been a lot of fun. We've had a couple different bass players. Our previous bass player was awesome, Michael Siskovich. He lived in Netherlands for years. He recently moved to Florida. And so we've been working recently with Dave Solsberg, who lives in Gilpin County. He's got a master's in music from DU, and he's been playing bass with many bands in the Front Range for many years. He's mainly a jazz player. He plays with a salsa group, but we've been working with him recently. It's been really great. And Dave and I, Pump and I, have also been friends for a long time. So that's briefly our story. I could tell you a lot more, but I could go on forever. But yeah, we're firing up to trying to play a bunch of gigs over the summer, playing in Denver, Fort Collins, angling to hopefully play the Caribou Room at some point as an opener probably.
And how long has it been a part of your life? When did you start getting into music, and what were some of your musical starts?
Well, I grew up in southwestern Virginia, in the heart of bluegrass country, and have family members that play, and relatives and acquaintances and friends that all play in that area. So I kind of grew up playing music and introduced to bluegrass at a very young age. I started getting serious about playing the guitar when I was about 17. I'll be 44 in a couple months. So I started getting serious about guitar at about 17. Played in random garage bands over the years, bands in college. Just been playing music for a long time. Bill, my mandolin player, he's been playing about the same. He's a little bit older than me, but he started at a very young age as well. I think he started out on guitar and he switched to mandolin maybe about 15 or 20 years ago.
Were there any influences that inspired you and your other bandmates growing up, along with, as you mentioned, David Grisman?
David Grisman, Tony Rice. We're pretty into jazz. Wayne Shorter, Bill Evans, Miles Davis, of course. Music of the Grateful Dead has been a huge influence on me and my bandmates. I could go on and on. There's so many heroes. Django Reinhardt. More recent heroes of mine. Used to be a Denver cat. His name is Ross Martin. There's some local guys that I really idolize. Benny Galloway, been a mountain staple for many years, Front Range staple. He's been a big influence on me. Yonder Mountain, of course, Green Sky Bluegrass, String Dusters. All those heroes have been important to us and been major influences on us for sure. And local, John Ridnell, Black Dog, he's been an influence on me as well. Kind of cut my musical teeth on the Front Range.
Are there any musical styles that you would say you and your band kind of lean more into with all of those influences?
With this project, Fast Floyd, it's definitely definitely leaning towards jazz grass. We call it jazz grass because we kind of mix the two. But yeah, we're leaning into the instrumental jazz, acoustic jazz grass with this project for sure.
Does anybody sing in Fast Floyd?
Yeah, we do. We sing, and we have some pretty good harmonies. Dylan and I have been singing together for a lot of years, but we're kind of doing that as a fill-in right now. Our goal, at least, is to get this to be more of a presentation of the Grisman style. They call it dog, D-A-W-G, dog style music. Like I said, we've only got about half the set that is like that, but we do sing. We sing quite a bit. We enjoy singing and doing harmonies. So yeah, it's about half and half right now.
What would say are some of your favorite parts about being able to play music as a career, being able to play live, being able to just live in music for your life?
You know, that's a tough question. I mean, I enjoy all the aspects of music. I could give you a couple examples. One of them is just the camaraderie with my bandmates. We're like best friends. When you play music with another person, it's like you're speaking this exclusive language. It's a very bonding experience. And also the connection with the audience. I mean, if you're really on and people are into it, it's just a great experience to play a live show. And if you're good, people are going to like it and they're going to be into it. And it's like a back and forth between the audience and the players. It's a really great experience. You know, I'm not particularly a religious person, but I do feel like everybody needs some sort of spirituality in their life. And for me personally, music is that. But you're going to get a lot of different answers from a lot of different musicians when you ask that question. It's kind of an all-encompassing thing.
And is there anything in particular about Fast Floyd that sticks out compared to some of your other projects?
Well, again, it's just really focusing on these really difficult instrumental tunes. Most of the other projects I've been in have been a little more either bluegrass singing oriented type things, or, you know, when I play with Benny Galloway, I back him up on guitar a lot, and that's more presenting original tunes, really great tunes, which I really like. But the Fast Floyd thing is, for me, just being a guitar nerd and a music nerd, that's really fulfilling to learn these really difficult tunes and try to get them polished so that we can present them to people. I do feel like there's not a lot of people doing them these days, so we're hoping to get into a little bit of a niche with that. And so far, it's been great. We played a bunch of shows recently, and people really enjoy the David Grisman stuff. They really do, especially if you present it well. We get a big audience response when we present one of those tunes, and it's well done.
And what do you hope that audiences take away from your live shows when they come to see you guys perform?
Gosh, I just want them to have a good time. Just enjoy the music. And I hate to say I want them to be impressed, but that would be nice too. Because these are hard tunes, and anybody that knows a little something about music is going to know that when they hear it. We put a lot of work into this stuff. It doesn't pay very well, but that's okay. We're doing it more for fun and fulfillment.
Is there anything else just in general about Fast Floyd that you want to add?
I guess not. Just tell people to look for us. If they like the more instrumentally based music, David Grisman or acoustic type jazz, we're going to be right up their alley. It's not all the cerebral jazz stuff. We're going to do fun stuff too. Grateful Dead covers, bluegrass covers. We hope to just present a fun experience for folks. And just all I would add is please come out and see us.
I think those are all the big questions that I have on my end.
Well, I really appreciate you guys interviewing us. Hopefully we'll get a little traction out of it.
Thank you so much to Paul for coming on board and joining us for the podcast. If you want to see Fast Floyd performing live, be sure to check them out at Howling Wind Brewery at 51A Main Street in Rollinsville on Saturday, July 9th at 5 p.m.
Thanks, Jamie. And friends, don't forget to pick up this week's edition of The Mountaineer in print in multiple locations across the Peak to Peak for the latest news from Allens Park to Central City and Blackhawk, with all of the communities and canyons in between.
This weekend is also the Party in the Peaks celebration with Netherlands Farmers Market. There will be over 60 vendors, live music, food, and lots more on Sunday, July 3rd.
And for our final story this week, we talked to Ellie Prane, who's working with two other team members to gather information and update the Netherland Fire District's 2011 Community Wildfire Protection Plan.
Hi, my name is Ellie Prane. I am a graduate student at U Boulder, and I'm in a master's program that's focused on the environment and sustainability, and it's kind of like a multidisciplinary professional program. What we're doing with the CWPP, we're partnering with Boulder Watershed Collective. They just got a grant to update Netherlands' community wildfire protection plan. In the grant, unfortunately, they did not receive any money for community engagement, so that's what our graduate student team is doing. We're engaging with the community this summer through events and interviews, and all of the data that we collect and all of the insights that we collect from community members will be considered and evaluated and hopefully included in the plan.
I mean, I know there might not be any funding received directly for it. Definitely sounds like you and some fellow graduate students in the program are kind of helping to shape public policy, really.
Yeah, it's been really interesting so far. We're actually in the process of applying for a grant for our community outreach. So hopefully we get that, and hopefully that will kind of allow for like a more robust engagement with community members. We're hoping to put on some more events if we do get this grant money, and potentially hire like a professional facilitator to come in and like take the engagement where we can. I'm working with my fellow team members, Kieran Riddle and Sarah Jensen, so it's just a team of the three of us. And we're all doing this for the first time, so I think we would really benefit from having that additional funding and then being able to hire a professional facilitator to kind of help us out for like one or two events.
Could you just talk a little bit about the community wildlife protection plan as it is, and the wildland-urban interface as well surrounding the town?
Yeah, so the Netherlands' previous community wildfire protection plan was last updated in 2011. I think we heard from someone that ideally they would be updated every 5 years to kind of reflect trends in the community, to reflect community growth and additional community insights. Recently learned that the Sunshine Fire Protection District has a meeting every year to kind of go over CWPP updates, which we think is really great because it's a very continuous process. Yeah, Netherlands CWPP is pretty outdated, and it was updated. It was done by an outside consulting group, and what's really cool about this time is that Boulder Watershed is a local nonprofit working within the Boulder Watershed, and so they've done engagement in the community before, so they're more trusted by Netherlands. I guess they already kind of have like that footing in Netherlands, if that makes sense. They're really great, and we love working with them. So the wildlife-urban interface, Netherlands is comprised of 18 separate wildlife-urban interface communities, and that basically just means that people have homes in areas that are very susceptible to wildfire, and that varies depending on the different neighborhoods in the community. There's been a lot of recent talk about egress routes out of Big Springs. There was a recent Board of Trustees meeting, and that's on the forefront of a lot of people's minds. So people in Netherlands are very susceptible to the risk of wildfire. And what's important about updating the CWPP, especially with community insight, is that people are going to know what to do in the event of a wildfire. They're going to know where they can go. If they have a horse trailer, they're going to know where they can bring their horses. They're going to know different resources that they have, how to like mitigate their personal properties, what the community is doing on a larger scale, like what the NFPD is doing. It's just really like this cool collaborative process that ranges from small scale home mitigation to larger scale community and other agency scale mitigation.
Definitely everything from kind of community resources to routes that people would take. Is there like a definitive measure of the wildfire risk of the area right now?
The town knows that there is a very high wildfire risk, especially in certain subsections of the community, and I think it is considered pretty high.
How will implementing an updated plan, first of all, affect wildlife?
Well, that's a good question. So what myself and my team were focused on that community input. There are a lot of differing opinions within the community about how mitigation whatever that means to people, wildfire mitigation, how that would affect wildlife. So if you have, I guess, outside agencies like the Forest Service, and they're like, okay, we're going to thin this area, we're going to mitigate this area, we're going to do some cutting, that does affect wildlife. And I think people are kind of on either side of that issue of like, we don't want that. We should focus on protecting our personal properties. So we should focus on hardening our homes. We should focus on getting rid of our wooden fences, creating defensible space, clearing out things on our personal tracts of land, and we should leave those larger open spaces, those larger forests kind of untouched. And then there are people who are like, we should mitigate this forest property, we should do thinning, we should potentially do prescribed burn, and if you're looking at it either way, there is the potential to affect wildlife. If you don't mitigate and a fire sweeps through, that affects wildlife. If you do mitigate, that also affects wildlife. I know we've heard from a lot of different community members where they stand on that kind of divide, but I'm not sure how the current plan will address that.
I know that this is kind of my follow-up to that, and this one's probably a little bit obvious maybe, but it still bears saying. How would like a successful implementation of the plan affect the human population?
I think it would save lives, and it would make people feel confident in knowing what to do in the event of a wildfire. It would make, we've heard from some people in the community that it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when there's a wildfire. And so I think having this really solid understanding of what the community's action items are, what the community's priorities are, basically what needs to be done to prepare, and then in the event of a wildfire, where do you go? Do you have your go bag packed? Do you have basic supplies that you need? What route are you going to take out of Netherlands? Do you have resources for what happens in the event that you lose your home to a wildfire? Where are there different community meeting points? We actually talked to community members yesterday, and they brought up a really interesting point of what happens if the power is cut and you rely on the power, or you rely on power to your home for a medical device, especially focusing on those vulnerable populations, focusing on older populations, people with children, people who are unhoused, people who live very rurally and don't have maybe a car or internet connection. It's all these kind of different, really complex identities that the community has, and how do we protect them, and how do we plan it successful, which it's going to be created, but hopefully it's created in a way that really benefits community members, and I think that is a really powerful thing to have in the event that there is a wildfire.
So how is the community outreach part of this going? How can people get in touch, or how are you contacting people to, gather data?
So we had our first we called it a community visiting workshop. We held that at Chapia Park this past Sunday, so Sunday, June 19th, and we had flyers all over town for that. We did some social media outreach through the town administrator and the Netherlands Farmers Market. We stood around at the Netherlands Farmers Market and asked people if they were Ned residents, and just tried to cast a really wide net for people to come to this event. But one of the people at the event brought up the fact that she didn't see us in the Mountaineer, and so she was like, you should really, there are people who aren't on social media, there are people who aren't coming into town as often who would see those flyers. She was like, you need to figure out a way to get yourself in there to the Mountaineer, and we're really trying to cover all of these bases in terms of getting the word out there. We're hoping to have another community event, or another 2 community events, and in addition to that, we're also conducting interviews to really collect data on an individual level that would inform the CWPP process. And also we're hoping that the information and insight we collect can also help out other communities on the Front Range and other communities in Colorado. Netherlands is awesome and wonderful and very unique, but there's a lot of things that are very similar in other mountain communities that could be very helpful, I think. So we are conducting interviews throughout the summer. They're an hour to an hour and a half. We work around people's schedules. We are happy to meet in people's homes, or if they don't want us coming over to their homes, then in a location in Netherlands, Chapita Park, or a business in Netherlands, a coffee shop or whatever. or we can conduct them virtually. So we just really want to hear from people. We hope we find people who want to talk to us. My phone number is 803-325-4644. My email is Elizabeth, so ELIZABETH .prain, @colorado.edu. And we have flyers all over town, and that has my contact information on it also. But yeah, if you just call me or text me or email me, we're very happy to talk to you and make an interview work with your schedule. And we've been hanging out around town a lot, so hopefully we kind of can catch people that way too.
Do you have a rough timeline of when the plan will be finished and released?
Yeah, so they just got the grant funding, I believe in May, for the updated CWPP, and then we're collecting data this summer, and then I think a draft of the CWPP will be kind of presented to the public, to Netherlands, for comments on it, for feedback and input sometime in the spring of 2023, and then the plan will be finalized, I believe, in summer of 2023, so like May to June of 2023. The 2011 CWPP, I believe it's like over 100 pages. I think it really goes into detail, and I'm anticipating, it's pretty hefty, and I'm anticipating that this update will be more robust because we are doing all this outreach and we really want people's insights.
All right, awesome. Is there anything really important that you think we missed or that you really wanted to mention but didn't?
Oh, wow. Let's see. I think one important thing is that we're working with the Netherlands Fire Protection District. They're very involved in this update to the plan. They've been really great to work with. They're awesome. We're working with the town of Netherlands. We're working with Boulder Watershed Collective. We've reached out to other organizations in Netherlands, like Wild Bear Nature Center, Teams Inc. We just got some really good input to work with the Community Center of Netherlands. We heard about all the great things that they're doing, so we're going to reach out to them. So yeah, we're trying to like talk to people on an individual level, so like households and that kind of demographic, and then we're also really trying to work with these like local organizations, which has been really fun too, because they have been, obviously we're new to the community. We don't live in Netherlands. We're from Boulder. We don't quite have that perspective, and it's been really great to learn from people who have been in Netherlands, who live and work in Netherlands, and have been doing this community engagement for a lot longer than we have. So that's been awesome.
Will y'all be at the Netherlands Farmers Market July 3rd weekend?
Yes, I will be there, and I'm not sure if my teammate, our teammates is going to be out of town, but my other teammate Kieran might be there with me. Probably just be walking around. I keep joking that we're just like totally pestering people because we had just like walk up to people and we're like, do you live in the Netherlands? Like, please talk to us. But I will probably be there, yeah.
Thanks. And remember, your input could help protect your land and the towns for years to come.
And that's all for this week's edition of the Mountaineer Podcast. All editions of the Mountaineer Podcast, print newspaper, and the latest news are always available on our website at www.themountaineer.com. To contact the Mountaineer, email info@themountaineer.com or call 303-810-5409.
Thanks, everyone. I'm Doug Armitage.
And I'm Barbara Hardt. Until next time, thanks for listening.
And that's it for our show. Subscribe online to get more access to more news, weekly updates to our community calendar, and a link to our YouTube channel by visiting themountaineer.com. Be sure to use the coupon code PODCAST when subscribing for a 10% discount, only available to our listeners. If you are in the local Peak to Peak area, be sure to pick up a print edition of The Mountaineer at a local business. I'm Dango Rose. Thank you for listening.